Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. We're going to look at the week ahead. That is the week of, hold on, let me get my calendar. The week beginning Sunday, March 28th, and running until Saturday, April 3rd. And we start this week off with a pretty powerful full moon, as it were. The full moon, of course, will be in Libra because the sun is in Aries, but it's not just the sun that's in Aries. We have a lot of Aries placements. And so we're going to take a look at that chart. Okay, so what we have here is the chart. The full moon occurs at 2:48 p.m. That's on the eastern. That's the East Coast. This chart is erected for Washington, D.C., but it is an Aries rising chart. So what we're going to see in this chart is the pure archetypical energies that we're dealing with now. So if we look at this chart, we can see that there's a whole lot of things in the first house. And so that means there's a whole lot of things in Aries. We have the sun, of course, in Aries. We also have Chiron conjunct the sun, and Venus conjunct the sun, and Ceres not too far away, right? So we have all of this Aries energy, and Aries is the I am. And in stark contrast, we have the moon really kind of all by herself. She does have a little bit of company here with Vesta in Virgo, within 30 degrees of her. But for the most part, she's all by herself. And so this is our feelings, our emotions, right? In Libra, attempting to balance our emotions, but also the Libra moon can bring out our more extreme emotions. Libra is actually an archetype of extreme. And what we're trying to do in Libra is to sort of move from those extremes and move to more of the middle ground, as it were. So it's easier to find balance. If you are on the outskirts, if you remember when we were little kids and we would be on the seesaw, if you were on the edge of the seesaw could go up fast, really fast, up and down. You didn't have a whole lot of control. But if you got closer to the center, you could actually balance it. And if you happen to be a bigger kid like I was, I mean, I was like I was 5'7" when I was 12. And then you have these little peanut friends that I used to have that were like 5 foot nothing. In order to play on that, you would have to, my friend would have to sit on the end and I would have to sit closer to the middle just to get that sort of up and down. And so it's easier to be unstable when things are on the edges, right? As we come closer to the center, things stabilize. And so that is what the Libra moon is attempting to do. We have all of this energy of the I am. And part of that I am energy is wounded. There's a wounding here, right? Chiron, the wound of identity, the wounded masculine, the wounded feminine. We have Chiron conjunct Venus, right? And then later in the day, I believe, well, let's see, now Venus, later in the day, the sun makes a conjunction, hold on, I have it written down right here. We have actually Chiron making a conjunction to Venus before the full moon. And then after the full moon, we have, the next day we have, or the next within the, yeah, the next day, which is Monday, we have the sun conjunct Chiron. So this issue of the wounded masculine comes up. And of course, here in the United States, we just had 2 shootings, both by men. Usually it is men. I don't even know if there's been a shooting by a woman. And the first one in Atlanta, the biggest ones, I guess, because we have them every day, right? These mass shootings. He seemed to be targeting Asian women. And then this, the second one, I believe more women than men were killed, although it wasn't really a woman thing. It was just for what it seems to me like is this was somebody who was bullied when they were young. So there's so that wound of bullying, and then, not knowing what to do with that anger, and then expressing it um, all at once. This is a very mentally unstable time. People have just spent a whole year in lockdown. And those who weren't in lockdown were always under this sort of onus of at any moment you could get sick and die because you have to be out there. And then they don't want to pay you more than 15. They don't want to pay you $15 an hour to do any of that. So there's this real like sense of victimization. And then of course we had 4 years of somebody saying, poor me, I'm a victim, everybody's against me. I'm the greatest ever, but I'm not getting more done because everybody's against me. It's an old story. It's an old story. So all of this sort of I am the victim energy is out there. And this full moon is asking us to become aware of that, become aware of that. And so we have this I and them, right? Me, I am, and you are the other. So there's an awareness around that. Of course, we also see that Mercury is about to make a conjunction to Neptune in Pisces. We have Pallas Athena, the goddess of social justice in Pisces, trying her best, I would imagine, to help those who cannot help themselves. Of course, here in the States, we have the COVID relief bill was signed, so there is now energy moving towards helping people, helping communities, helping businesses. We need this sort of big step up at this time. And of course, we can't forget that Mars just made its conjunction to the north node of the moon. Probably part of the reason we're seeing all of the shooting. It's time we talk about guns. That's what this is about, right? So this is the chart in a natural state. Now let's take a look at the chart as it sits. Hold on here. Yeah, this is it. As it sits in Washington, D.C., for those who are in America. So we have a Leo rising. When you have a Leo rising chart, that means the ruler of the chart is the sun. And of course, the sun is involved in this full moon, right? You can't have a full moon without a sun. So we have this. And of course, this is Leo is self-expression, our ability to express ourselves. Leo is our agency, like feeling that we're we're the captain of our own ship, or we're the king or the queen of our own domain. There's that energy. And then of course we have the sun in the Aries, in the I am, conjunct Chiron. I am wounded. I am a woman tired of being wounded by the masculine. We could just, we could keep going. And then Ceres here. Ceres is the goddess. She is a mother goddess energy, but she's also associated with grief. And we can see there's a great outpouring of grief, And people, frankly, are just sick and tired of being sick and tired. People are tired of being, what do you call those? Targets for target shooting for these crazy, wounded, frustrated masculine. As the feminine rises, the masculine feels like they're losing power. That's what the whole Proud Boys thing is about, right? They're proud to be boys. They're misogynist. They don't want women taking over. Women we don't really want to take over necessarily. We want our voice to be heard, and we want to have an equal share. We want to have equal say. We want equality. We don't necessarily want to be the kings of the world, because that's not really the feminine way. The feminine way is one of interconnectedness and utilizing the community and the talents of the community. It's much more sort of let's get together in a group and get something done energy. And certainly we see that in the Black communities, how the women have kept the culture of those communities together, because many of the men the strapping men, masculine warrior nature men are in jail because they don't really have a lot of options, right? And the economy of their areas, in order to make money, you have to pretty much sell drugs or do things like that because there's no opportunity. So hopefully all of that is changing, and that awareness is sort of precipitating, I should say, up to the people in charge. The people on the grassroots know, and there have been many grassroots and grassroots organizations that have been touting this, for 50 years even or longer, right? So there is this sort of energy that we see in this full moon. Of course, we have Uranus here in the 10th house in Taurus. Taurus rules money. So there's that with that. And of course, we have this North Node conjunct Mars up here in the 11th house. The 11th house is the Congress, right? The Senate and the House. This is the Congress. And this is taking action on talking about guns, letting go of our beliefs, our outworn beliefs. The ruler of this South Node is Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter in Aquarius. The ruler of this North Node is Mercury in Pisces. Where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Mercury in Pisces, which is about to make a conjunction to that North Node. This is, moving in the direction of compassion, but it is also square the nodes and square Mars. So there can be a lot of confusion with this, a lot of enmeshment, not seeing things clearly. But obviously this is a time, at least here in our country, where we really have to look at the gun issue. And certainly our ability to communicate, be heard, and have the Congress take action on what the people want, not necessarily what their lobbyist donors want. Okay, so that's going on with this full moon. So I thought that would be just an interesting thing to talk about. So this the conjunction between Venus and Chiron, the conjunction between the Sun and Chiron, I believe, are both at 9 degrees of Aquarius. 9 degrees of Aries. So let's take a look at the Sabian symbol for 9 degrees of Aries. I think I have it up here. Sorry, the wind is blowing my door and it's like slamming a little bit. All right, hopefully that'll help. All right, let's see. 9 degrees of Aries. Where are we? Oh, we're not quite in Aries here. Just give me a moment. Give me a moment or two. Says a crystal gazer, the development of an inner realization of organic wholeness. Says the crystal sphere symbolizes wholeness. Within the sphere, images take form. These images may reveal future events, but more significantly, they picture the situation as a whole, the situation which the clairvoyant is meant to interpret. The nascent mental faculties operating through still dominant emotions or collective cultural incentives acts as a centralization and a whole-making power. What the intelligence perceives in its concentration on the function of every inner impulse and outer event in the open field of personality, still unclouded by egoism. And it says, we find new techniques are required for the development of individualized consciousness is revealed, concentrated attention. So this is about looking at the whole, right? The whole situation, looking at it in a holistic way. What's interesting about that is Chiron is the energy of holistic medicine, right? Holistic medicine. Herbalism, chiropractic, these things where there's a philosophy that that all you need is a functioning whole, to nurture the functioning whole, not to just pick it apart and make it one thing and concentrate on that one thing, but see the thing in its context, right? And so we have to see things such as guns in its context. We have to see things such as violence against women in its context. We have to see the wounded masculine in its context. The way that we relate to ourselves and the way we relate to others is the key to unlocking an ability to evolve and move into a more loving and supportive environment. And we all need the healing. We all need the love. We all need a sense of purpose and a sense of self-love. Love thyself, right? They say, love your neighbor as yourself. I think a lot of people do, because I think a lot of people don't like themselves. And they don't like themselves because they've been culturally indoctrinated into thinking that there's something wrong with them. And we can go back to the Garden of Eden for that if we want to really go back, where we have the kicking out of the feminine, right? The kicking out of Lilith. Oh, and let's see, where is Lilith in this whole picture? Where is Black Moon Lilith? Here in Taurus. Black Moon Lilith is there are three Liliths actually. There's an asteroid Lilith. There's apogee. There's three Liliths. The Black Moon Lilith, this one, is considered to be the healing balm for the Lilith energy. So Lilith was kicked out of the Garden of Eden because she wouldn't lie beneath Adam. She was kicked out and made the mother of demons. And so Lilith returns, the return of Lilith, right? And here she is in Taurus. And what does she want? What is Taurus? Taurus is self-worth and self-esteem. What else is in Taurus? Uranus, the energy of awakening, the awakening of the feminine, the awakening of Mother Earth, shaking, rocking and shaking, and weather events and tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes and volcanoes, and she's a moving and a shaking, and that ain't going to stop anytime soon. We also have to see that we're still, and this is all year, we still have a pretty tight square to Saturn. Saturn and Uranus making a last quarter crisis in consciousness square to one another. This synodic cycle between these two planets began in 1988. So it's been a long time that these two planets have been on this cycle. And now we're at the point where we're questioning authority and moving towards individuation, and then ultimately moving towards humanitarianism. So we are on the path of all of this. The question is, how do we understand it? How do we come to understand what we need to know? All right, so that is the full moon, and Chiron conjunct Venus is also that crystal gazer energy. So I am just going to, I'm going to animate this chart for a second. And I don't know if I don't think you can see this because I have to change it to animate. But I want to just see where the conjunction happens between this. I want to make sure it's at the same degree. Okay, let's see. Here we are. The sun, Chiron is at 9 degrees. Okay, so the sun Chiron conjunction is also at that crystal gazer. So we have Chiron Venus, we have Chiron Sun, asking us to look at the whole picture, looking at life from a holistic place, instead of from your end of the spectrum or my end of the spectrum, instead of it being the NRA saying this, and the anti-gun people saying this and this. Yes, you have to take the guns out of people's hands, because the real problem is not the guns. It's true, guns don't kill people, people kill people. But you have guns available to people who should not have them. You have guns available for people who are not mentally stable in a very we've had 4 years, and maybe I'm only talking from my end of the spectrum here, 4 years of trauma capped on a lifetime of trauma, right? And here we are in this place, trying to hold together ourselves, trying to hold together our country, our democracy, and yet the things that make democracy function are dysfunctional. So where are we at? We have to reinvent ourselves. We have to remember that we are in a Pluto return. This country, the United States, is in a Pluto return. We are in the midst of it. It's as close as it's ever been. It's only within the degree of Pluto. Now, Pluto is gonna go retrograde and start to back away from that 28th degree of Capricorn where the United States Pluto is, but it's in orb, we're feeling it, and then it's exact in 2022 and 2023. So we're not done with this, but most of the pressure is felt before the exact conjunction. So we're in the thick of it, and then of course we have to take into consideration that we're dealing with Saturn and Uranus at the same time, which is going to help break up some of the more calcified parts of the way we govern, right? And the calcified parts of that power over patriarchal structure that we see so prominently in Capricorn. And that's not the only story that Capricorn tells, because Capricorn tells other stories as well. In fact, Capricorn is an earth sign, right? And earth is the feminine, right? And Capricorn is the redeemer as well, right? So there are other stories of Capricorn, but the Capricorn story that we're hearing now is the Pluto and Capricorn story that's been going on since 2008 and has caused a crashing and a transformation of the structure of our world, the structure of our governments, the structure of our money, the structure of our large institutions, and the structure of our consciousness. Okay, so let's see what else is going on here. So on Monday, the 29th, we have Chiron conjunct the sun. Remember, at that 9th degree of Aries, the crystal gazer. We also have at the end of the day, here on the East Coast anyway, 11:24 p.m., we have a conjunction between Mercury and Neptune. And we can see that conjunction is right here. This is occurring at 22 degrees of Pisces. Let's look at the Sabian symbol for 22 degrees of Pisces. Pisces, of course, is the sign, it's the last sign of the zodiac. And so, and of course, Neptune is in Pisces. It's been there since 2011, and it will be there until I think 2026. That's when it moves out of Pisces and moves into Aries. And so, every time, so Pisces in Neptune and Pisces wants to give us a message, the message from spirit. And so the messenger planet Mercury makes a conjunction to Neptune. Neptune, of course, is also the planet of the oceans, right? So what do the oceans have to say to us? Neptune is a planet of the divine. Neptune is the planet of the consciousness of all things, our connectedness to all things, not just each other, but to the plants, to the animals, to the earth, to the minerals, to our galactic connections, whatever it is that's in our purview that we even know about, and some things we don't know about, it is our connection to that. That Neptune is the great cosmic sea. So let's take a look at 22 degrees of Pisces, the Sabian symbol for that. You just pull it up here. It says a prophet carrying tablets of the new law is walking down the slopes of Mount Sinai. The need to bring down to the level of everyday existence clear realizations made manifest in a great peak experience. What have been your peak experiences? What are your spiritual truths? What have you discovered from your direct connection to spirit? Not what somebody else told you to think, not what the church says, or this one or that one, or the culture says. What is your relationship to spirit? And how do you bring that down so people can understand? Our greatest gift and the greatest healer is love. How do we love one another? Pisces, Neptune is about compassion. Compassion for all creatures, great and small, for all sentient life. It says here, the symbol obviously refers to Moses after he received from God, the God of his people, the basic principles upon which a new religion, and even more, a new ritual of living should be founded. The basic law has been brought down. It represents a descent of formative structuring power, divine revelation. Neptune conjunct Mercury, divine revelation coming down to us. This type of revealed knowledge contrasts with the kind of knowing born out of the experience of touch, of feeling, of warmth, of contact. This symbolic pictures the process to which religious God-given character has been attributed to the past, but which today is being investigated at the personal and psychological level. The important point is here, what do you do after you have a peak experience and inner revelation? The key word here is mandate. Mandate is appropriate, but the basic problem is how to fulfill it in the right spirit. Great day to meditate. Great day to meditate. Every day is a great day to meditate. All right. On Tuesday, the 30th, we have a sextile between Venus, which is in Aries, and Saturn, which is in Aquarius. This is an opportunity for us. Hold on one second. Hi, I'm back. Okay, this is an opportunity for us to open the lines of communication. Of course, Saturn is in Aquarius, bringing structure to more humanitarian endeavors, hopefully. And then Venus in Aries, coming off her conjunction to Chiron. How can we create a better society where all boats are lifted, where things are more fair, right? How do we do that? We deal with the woundedness. How do we bring that forward? Tuesday, the 30th, is a good day because the lines of communication are open for that. What have we learned? And the moon that day shifts from Libra into Scorpio. So, and that occurs very, very early in the morning here on the East Coast of the US. So when we have this sextile between Venus and Saturn, the moon is in Scorpio. And of course, the moon in Scorpio deepens our feelings. The moon starts the week in Libra in that full moon. That's quite a way for the moon to start, right? Full, woo! And then it moves into Scorpio. So Scorpio is an energy of a confrontation. You're confronting the shadow. So we have some shadow work that we may be confronting. We do have to be careful. We do have to be careful because more things can happen out there. You have to keep, as I say, be aware and take care. The new mantra that I'm using. So be aware of that. You know, we're still in the midst of it. So we have to, and of course, with all of this Chiron wounded energy out there, this is something that we have to really be careful and be aware of our environment as we move through the world. It would be nice if we didn't have to, but we have to. We have to, because that's the world we're living in. Okay, so we also on the 30th have an inconjunct between the moon in Scorpio and the sun in Aries. This requires us to make emotional adjustments around things. We may want to put, we have feelings, we want to express them, we want our own way. The moon in Scorpio, you can't always get your own way, and that's something you're going to have to deal with come the 30th. On the 31st, the last day of March, in like a lion it was, so we're hoping out like a lamb, right? In that respect, we have Venus in Aries making a sextile to the north node of the moon. We also have the sun making a sextile to Saturn. The Sun-Saturn conjunction occurred, let me see, I wrote it down here. Nope, wrong one. Wednesday. Oh, I didn't write it down. Oh, goodness. Well, the sun, oh, wait a minute. I thought I did. Hold on one second. What did I do and what didn't I do? So we have the sun making a sextile to Saturn. That's an opening of the lines of communication. And this is the beginning, the waxing part of the cycle. The first actual aspect after the conjunction, major aspect of the conjunction. And so this is about sort of moving forward, collecting data and ideas. The initial conjunction occurred on the 23rd of January, and it occurred at 5 degrees of Aquarius. The Sabian symbol for that is a council of ancestors is seen implementing the efforts of a young leader, the root foundation of past performances, which power and sustain whatever decision is made in a crisis by an individual. The whole past of mankind stands behind any individual effort, especially in times of critical decision. The endeavor of the priests who built the California missions had behind it the whole past of the Catholic proselytization, the attempt to bring the good news to all people of the earth. Every individual is far more dependent upon the strength of their ancestors' achievements or oppressed by the failures or lack of vision than they usually believe. This can mean a hidden foundation of individual strength or the inertia of tradition, unable to transcend limited origins. It suggests that many situations reliance upon presidents will enable the aspirant to greatness to tap into the power of their deepest roots. So that was the initial conjunction. Tap in the power of our ancestral roots in order to bring about Aquarius, humanitarian endeavor. How do we bring forth the Aquarian age? This sextile that we have on the 31st helps us to talk about that and gather the information that's needed so we can continue to help manifest that very thing. On Thursday, the 1st of April, April Fool's Day, we have a lovely trine between the sun and the moon. Of course, the sun is in Aries. The moon moves into Sagittarius early in the morning here on the East Coast of the US. And so with the sun in Aries and the moon in Sagittarius, this is a waning trine. This is the wane. This is after the full moon. We have this trine. This is a trine of social rewards. It's a trine of understanding. It's a trine of meaning. It has that Sagittarian flavor. What does this all mean? How can we learn from one another? How can we learn from one another? On Friday, the 2nd, which is Good Friday for those who celebrate that or observe that, I should say. What's to celebrate about Good Friday? We have a sextile between Mercury and Pluto. Now, this is another one of those sextiles where we are opening the lines of communication. This was actually part of the synodic cycle that began when Mercury made its conjunction to Pluto back on the 4th of January. That occurred at 25 degrees of Aquarius, 25 degrees of Capricorn. Now, if we remember, the 4th of January was 2 days before the insurrection. So we were, in a way, a very different country at that point. The insurrection, certainly on the 6th, was certainly a turning point, and perhaps the biggest wake-up call that we've had, and certainly the biggest wake-up call that we've had probably since 9/11 was one of them, and the election of Trump was another, and the insurrection probably was the next one. So so that conjunction occurred before, in a way, we had a real view of what the future was holding for us. Let's take a look at 25 degrees of Capricorn. And 25 degrees of Capricorn is important because last year there was a lot of things happening at that degree. So let's read it. It says, a store filled with precious Oriental rugs, the use of cultural and artistic processes as a means to enhance personal comfort and appreciation. This is about a reliance on tradition, a reliance on tradition. It says, coming after the preceding symbol, and the preceding symbol was, let's see, a woman enters the convent. That was the preceding symbol. Coming after the preceding symbol, this one brings us back to the material yet aesthetic aspect of the benefits of society that society can bring its members. A rug always implies to some extent something on which a person stands or sits. It is a foundation for cultural understanding. And as such, it can have a magical or sacred meaning, as in the case of prayer rugs. The woman in the common probably knows only the bare floor because her goal is one of transcendence, of surrendering comfort, as well as cultural patterns. But to the socially elite, or even to the Oriental devotee praying to his God, society offers a relative comfort of beautiful rugs, so he may meet the universe, not merely in terms of the support of the natural that the natural soil gives, but protected by and securely established in the mental, spiritual, as well as manual achievements of those who keep the cultural symbols alive. This, let's see, it shows the beautiful products of dedicated, inspires group performance at the level of tradition. It emphasizes the reliance on tradition. The reliance on tradition. So that is the Sabian symbol for this for the 25 degrees of Capricorn that we had in that conjunction back on the 4th. And so we're opening the lines of communication with a little bit more information than we had when we first had that conjunction, certainly. And then on the 3rd, which is Saturday, we have Mercury moving into Aries. Mercury's moving into Aries. And so that's significant for a number of reasons. Anytime a planet moves into Aries, it's starting the zodiacal cycle, right? The zodiacal cycle. But the North Node right now is in Gemini. And so the ruler of Gemini is Mercury, and whatever sign Mercury's in sort of influences that North Node. So we have Mars moving away, but still close enough. And certainly we're feeling sting of Mars conjunct the North Node still, as Mercury, the ruler of that North Node, moves into Aries. And of course, anytime a planet moves into Aries, it's about a new beginning. There's a new so a new way of thinking, perhaps, a new way of mentating, of approaching, of using our mind, Okay, so that's what I want to say about the week. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a card reading for the week ahead, and I will be right back to do that. Okay, everyone, I am back. I just grabbed cards. I am using the Illuminated Earth Oracle. I think this was the one I used last week as well. I'm not sure. I don't remember, actually. You know, I do a lot of readings, so I don't always remember what cards. So this is for the week, beginning with this very powerful full moon in Libra. We have the full moon in Libra. We have a couple of sextiles happening with Pluto and Mercury and Saturn. And then we have the conjunction of Venus and Chiron. That starts the year-long synodic cycle between Venus and Chiron, and the Sun and Chiron, bringing starting that synodic cycle between. So the beginnings of dealing with this wounded masculine, the wound of bullying, the wounded warrior, the wounds created when you can't stand up for yourself, the wound of bullying, and of course, not to press this point too much, but the Chiron of the United States is in Aries. We're going to be having our Chiron after Pluto return. We're going to have our Chiron return. Now, the Chiron return happens every 50 years or so. So we're almost at 250. So maybe this is going to be our 5th Chiron return in the United States. So we have to keep that in our first Pluto return, perhaps our 5th Chiron return. I'm not sure about that, but I think it's the 5th Chiron return. If my math is correct, which is possible, it's not. All right, let's see. Immediate environment. The moon. Oh, well, that's a good way to start, right? Let's see if you can, let me just pull this a little closer. So there we go. Now you can see it. The moon here. And of course, we start with a full moon. So that is to say that it's a very emotional time. The moon brings up our emotions. And of course, full moons are our emotions on full display. Our emotions on full display. What's challenging that? Eruption. Anger. A lot of suppressed anger being expressed. People are fed up. And you're going to hear about it. What's at the root? Harmony. Harmony is at the root. People don't want to be afraid anymore. People are tired of mourning. They're tired of being afraid. They're tired of not being heard. They're tired of constant war. They're tired of it. They want harmony. Humanity is considered a 4th ray of the 7 rays of the esoteric tradition, and the 4th ray is harmony through conflict. And so perhaps we have reached the point where the harmony comes because we are so sick and tired of the conflict. In the past, we have fire. This is spirit. This is being inspired. It's the spirit of fire. It's the spirit of spirit. Fire is spirit. It's our intuition. Let's see what's in the sky. Air. So this is communication, our ability to relate to one another on a mental level. That's interesting. We have fire and air, 2 elementals, and the immediate future. Vulnerability. I'm going to keep pulling, I think. We're feeling vulnerable. I think if you don't know what vulnerability is, how would you know what strength is? How it's seen from the outside. This is called concealment. There are still things under the surface. This is an iceberg. This feels like things are frozen. Things have yet to thaw. Things are going to start to thaw now as we move forward. Our domestic situation is protection. So this is us protecting ourselves, feeling vulnerable, and so you might have people who are a little more protective and a little more closed down than maybe And of course, I think that that has something to do with the fact that we're, in the midst of a pandemic as well. Hopes and fears, gifts. I think people are waiting for their money to come in, right? But other gifts, like being aware of the gifts that we have. An outcome, epiphany, epiphany. So a realization is something is dawning, something is coming to our attention. And underneath it all, I have the relationship card, which is actually upside down, but check out this relationship card. Most relationship cards are like two people kissing and, but this is like, this is a hard relationship. This is two rocks hitting against each other, two fire rocks, two rocks that are on fire, smacking into each other. Relationship is relationship is the core, right? The relationship to ourselves, the relationship to each other, the relationship between the masculine and the feminine within us. It all comes down to that. And so we're going to have some sort of epiphany about relationship that we are either in or we're having, or that something that we need to be aware of within a relationship. And that could be as broad or as specific as you want to go. All right, guys. So that's the astrology for the week ahead and card reading that goes with it. Take care of yourselves. Much love. I'm going to go out and help my husband. He's doing some work out there. Now it's time to roll up my sleeves and give him a hand. All right, guys. Much love. Take care. Like and subscribe. If you like it, more people will see it. So if you think this is valuable, if you could do that for me, that would be greatly appreciated. And I will see you again. I'll certainly see you next week, but I'll see you tomorrow, and I will see you through the week, I'm sure. Take care. Much love.